Welcome to another episode of the Protein Bros podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Wasserman, and is with me my co-host, Kyle Combs.
Hola.
It is September the 20th. We are hanging out in our new Protein Bros podcast studio. We have two lovely guests here. We have two separate business owners, one couple.
Really couldn't be farther apart as far as what type of business too.
We have a gym owner and a bakery owner. And
we just had some baked goods, and I will tell you right now, they were delicious.
She knows what she's doing. And so if you guys have not heard of Dolce Bakery, that is owned by Erin Brown, and if you've heard of Rev Gym, and it is, let me be specific on this, it's Revolution Gym and Fight School. University.
Fight University, yeah.
Rev Gym and Fight University.
Yes.
And when did and by the way, this is John Brown, by the way.
Hi.
And do you go by Johnny or John?
Whatever feels good.
Okay. For our listeners, he's Johnny for the rest of this podcast. So Johnny, tell me this. You guys have a gym. Was it always also Fight University? Was fighting always involved in your gym model, or was it?
And most importantly, how easy could you kick Jeff's ass?
It's a good point, dude. I got probably 60 pounds on you minimum.
But he tops out at his cardio performance at about 15 seconds. You outlast him 15 seconds. Can you do that?
That's most people. Whatever, I'm not ashamed. 15 seconds, pretty strong.
I'm feeling pretty confident I could probably kill him with my eyebrow from here.
Ooh,
oh my gosh.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
that means he could go with a toenail on Kyle then. Yeah.
Come on, dog.
So like I said, yeah, the fighting part of it is the part that throws me off because I haven't been to the gym. I've had so many friends that tell me it's awesome. We've had our own events with you guys that I know have gone really well. We had a women's self-defense class with you guys just last month. I know that went over really, really well.
That was great.
And it was half, workout and then half self-defense class. Mm-hmm. How did you guys parlay that, into the fighting side of things?
For that particular seminar?
Oh, no, not the seminar. Just in general, from a business standpoint.
Honestly, I was more of a martial art combative school before we were like a large gym.
I'm with you.
I branched off from my old instructor years ago. So the gym's been around, started playing with my own concept of gym in about 1998, formally 1999. Thanks, honey. I'm old.
How old was that?
And so we started out. I started out the martial arts school itself. I was doing some personal training. I'd gone to college for it. My dad was a trainer, and I was basically doing the travel to people's homes kind of thing. And it was just it was more of a side hustle on top of running the martial art school that I was trying to develop. So I'd broken off from my instructor. Long story in there. That's a whole other podcast.
But you were doing martial arts as just like not a hobby, but just like that was your you were an enthusiast.
No, I ran 4 schools for my instructor. Mm-hmm. I started martial arts when I was 6.
Mm-hmm. And this is karate, taekwondo. Help us out.
Combative, traditional taekwondo, which is not what you see today. It was more of a full contact kind of a thing. No pads, a lot of.
None of that Nancy shit they're doing now, huh?
No, it was not tag. No. No. And then full contact bouts, kickboxing, and then there's combative hapkido, and then judo and submission grappling. All of that.
Very familiar. Just true. Yeah. Absolutely. Big difference. Gotcha.
Sure. So anyway, no, I'd been in business with my instructor, and I was essentially known as his son. He didn't have a son of his own, Korean instructor. I was known as John Kim in the Korean community, in much of the Korean arts community,
cool,
nationwide, internationally, and was running 4 schools for him. Big long story, fallout, and then I was like, I'd had enough, and I'm not going to do anything. And then some former students got hold of me, and they had a metal fabrication business down off 13th and Woodsweather in the Bottoms. And they wanted me to just come teach them it was literally about the size of this room. They wanted me to teach them in a lobby. So there's 3 of them. And I'll come down and start privately teaching them because I was doing some side hustle stuff, teach the people privately. And then I noticed they had this office behind me that was just not being used. So what would you charge me rent for? So $300 cash a month. Started paying them rent in a 17-foot by 23-foot room, no AC,
Whoa.
no heat, cinder block building. You could touch. It was a 7.5 foot ceiling. You could touch the ceiling.
This is a storage garage.
Essentially, essentially large brick building down there at the bottoms. And eventually, I mean, we outgrew that thing super fast. Some of the old students found out I was down there.
Can I ask how old you were when this was happening, Johnny?
Well, I'm 54 now.
Okay.
So late 1998.
So that would give you 24 years ago. So now you're 30.
Ish, yeah.
Okay, so this is like really worth discussing if you can. You know, people, 28, 29, 30, they're all thinking like they're already doing what they're going to be doing for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? We're all naive in our 20s and thinking, okay, I'm done. This is what I'm doing. And so it sounds like you had an unbelievably close relationship with this guy that owned these fight schools, and this fallout in you having to transition into a different career altogether. How did that come about?
Well, we're going to go all the way back to my childhood to a particular level. So, grew up on the other side of tracks. I'm a Raytown boy, Raytona Beach.
I haven't heard that yet. That's great.
Yeah, I like Raytona Beach.
Raytona Beach.
Yeah,
I've heard Little Ray Town.
Ray Town, I've heard.
Graduating class in 1986. Yeah. Lower middle class. Had an abusive stepfather. Was an alcoholic. So at an early age, I knew what it was to survive, not necessarily thrive yet. Athletics is the only place that I found that.
Where you were feeling like you were, excelling.
Alive.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form, without a thumb on me or somebody denigrating who I am or what I wanted to be.
Sure.
So I think that just being bred into me instinctually, that transferred over into all the athletics that I was involved in. I was competitive at track at the age of 6 years old. So I went to college on a full ride for decathlon, and been competitive in martial arts since I was a young kid. And so that was kind of the only place I ever felt like I was moving forward on my own. Mm-hmm. And so to run into that wall and have that break of that relationship to someone who I considered a father, and have distrust again.
Yeah, it sounds like
somebody I'd spent so many years with, was really, really difficult. To come to the other side of it, what I learned a lot of with that, honestly, was how not to treat people, how not to treat clients, to absolutely set standards and live by them and be the example of those standards. If you're going to have a passion about something and love it, if you're not all in, the people that you're quote unquote selling it to are going to know you're full of shit.
Understood.
And it's so, there's a big thing around McDojo and all that kind of stuff, and people that are fake and martial arts, all that kind of stuff. And absolutely in any form of business that's going to show up, and you're going to lose clientele.
And the most passionate people will always be able to recognize that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got clients in our gym now that have been with me since 1999. I'm now training some third generations of families. I'm training people's grandkids who I trained them even back when I was in my late teens.
That's crazy. Jeez, man.
So
that's super wild.
It's mostly because I trapped them in the gym and take the bush.
But you're in this spot, you're like 28, 29, 30 years old, somewhere in that, and it's like, that's a coming of age for a lot of people. And that's because, again, you think this is how life's supposed to go. And 30s when you're ripe. And I would tell anybody, like, most people's life really starts at 30. Because you start to recognize, like, life isn't what you thought it was going to be, because it's not all what you expected.
It's not sunshine and fucking rainbows.
Right,
ever.
right.
It's and that's one of the part of the path and things that we drive into, even in everyday's programming that's in the gym. I've tried to roll over a lot of the philosophies from the arts into what we do into the gym and the discipline that's behind those things. And if you're going to talk about fighting, anybody can punch, anybody can kick, somebody can throw, somebody can choke somebody. What are you going to do when you're the one being hit? How are you going to get back up? What are you going to do to overcome? And can you do that on a daily to constantly move forward? And my answer to that is yes, period. Put a pin in it, end of sentence. I mean, our T-shirts are, big motivational green and black stuff that we wear all the time. Super colorful. Things like pay up, get back up, suffer. Those are things that are back on our T-shirts. because it's embracing that and knowing that that's going to come, whether you want it to or not. And if we're putting it in front of you in the gym on a daily, and you're going in there with the attitude of whatever John hands me, F it, I'm climbing the mountain and I'm going to get there today every single time. And learning how to take that hour, 2 hours, whatever you're spending in our gym, and then translate that attitude and that performance into the other 23 hours.
That's awesome.
How,
I love that.
How specifically are you doing that? So like when you say you're building, resilience as far as like, are you guys sparring on a regular basis in your gym, or are you giving them some kind of challenges?
So we've got basically two sides. We've got about 10,000 square feet, about 5,000 square feet are functional gym. We're not CrossFit. It is a lot of functional training. Other side is I actually have three businesses. We've got the gym, which kind of embraces the sports side of martial arts, but I also developed a 5-level combatives program that was developed for military, law enforcement, and first responders, which is Iron Arsenal, and we work with a lot of first responders. And then the third is I own a full security company. We do every time a security is. We're doing a lot of active shooter training for schools, churches, and things like that right now as well. We do full corporate security. We do.
Are you doing
security?
Are you doing the instructing on this, or is this something you have a team of instructors now?
I've got a few of my guys that help with the martial arts. One has been with me. One is now 30. Siegfried's going to kill me. I just asked him the other day. He is 35. Started training him when he was 6.
That is incredible.
He is with me, and then Chris Nelson is one of my black belts. He's been with me almost since like 2001.
Wow.
With like 20 years. And so they assist on both sides. I've got another young lady, Karina. She's taken some of the arts with us, but mostly on the functional training side. And then Hannah's been around for quite a while. She's on a sabbatical right now.
Mm-hmm. Hannah James?
Know Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah and Elliot,
Elliot's wifey.
Love those guys.
That's right, yeah. Shout out Hannah and Elliot. We love them.
Love you guys. So as far as like talking about, so there's days like right now we're running a challenge in the gym, and it's an 8-week, it's called Fight Camp. Mm-hmm. So even for those that are novice, that never fought before, we bring you in, you're going to pick a weight you're going to make. So you're going to make weight for your fight. We've got the things like your gallon of water a day, you're going to eat clean, all the points, right? And you get points if you do a workout on the martial arts side. For the fight camp training, you get 5 points a day. If you do the functional, you get 5 points a day. You have the potential of 10 out of the workouts. You're going to put the 2 hours in, really get it done. We've got pop-up stuff on that. So I float. Like some of the main lead classes, I'm floating between the functional and that.
And are you going to have them spar? I can't remember.
So the sparring, we're getting ugly and dirty. We've got some already that we've got people doing it that have been training in martial arts with me for several years that still do the fight camp just because it ups. There's more bodies on the mat. They're getting into it. So to answer the question, we're sparring in there just about on every day at this point.
But I think resilience-wise, the workouts and the sessions themselves, the way that you throw them at us, especially Fridays. Friday is FYF, and it's rough.
Right.
It's not feel your feelings if you're wondering what they are.
But I think that the workouts in general, a lot of them are meant to challenge you and make you step up and show up and give your best. And sometimes you read it and you look at it and you're like, oh, it's not too bad.
It's more of a mental toughness challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the physical is one aspect, but the resilience is built by.
That goes back to the shirt sayings, saying come back, stand up, get up, I
think you kind of really, figure out who you are when you're in a workout that you just want to quit really bad.
Yes.
And then you push through that point. And if you do that enough, it's like creating a callus. You're just basically over time, you get to the point where it's like, you just build self-confidence. That self-confidence obviously translates into a lot of different places in your life.
Yes.
Right.
So if you do, combatives training for like police officers, I've seen a lot of people talk about, making requirements for like police officers to have jiu-jitsu training or to have some kind of combatives training because I follow a couple posts or a couple of pages on Instagram, police posts, which post a lot of funny funny and not so funny video clips of police officers basically not able to handle themselves in situations that are non-lethal situations. So like people basically resisting arrest, and you can't, it's not like a situation where you shoot the person, but they can't, get them down to the ground. So is that basically what you're helping with police officers specifically?
Part of that is, so in the mid 80s, I helped develop the clamp on the grass system that were developed by a father and son team that I was also training with in martial arts at the same time. Chris and Larry Lim, shout out to you gentlemen. One was an FBI agent, and one at the time was just budding into law enforcement in KC. And it was based around a couple particular, the Kimura, if those are familiar with it, as a whole, to get to the ground and things like that. And I was
Can you just show me that on Jeff real quick? No,
I can.
Wait, I have a question.
So I was at Yuki for that because I was already fighting full contact a lot. And so if I couldn't get out of it, okay, let's push it forward. So it became a big national thing. Unfortunately, what's gone on is the degree of violence that goes on in our society now and continues to grow. Law enforcement and agencies, most three-letter agencies, have not been able to keep up and get ahead of the degree of violence that's out there now because of the societal changes and all the BS, and that's a whole other podcast as well. I could stay here all day and talk about that crap. But part of it is it's a little bit of my give back. Actually, we charge the agencies very little actually for them coming in, and it's we sign them up usually on a year-long program. They got full access to our gym, full access to the training. But as far as coming back to the question on the combatives, yes, there's a problem with it. Most people don't realize is not every law enforcement officer is John Wick. They're not going to shoot. We have a shoot house within the other side of the gym as well. We run full sims. We run full SWAT teams and CERT teams through there. We have an infrared firing range. And I've had people come in that are civilians that we put through some of the same courses, literally ask me, why can't law enforcement shoot them in the knee? I'm like, okay, here's an infrared gun that's got about 60-70% of the normal blowback. I want you to hit that large target right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, people, if you haven't ever shot a handgun at 20 yards, you don't understand like, oh, this is harder than it seems.
And then add stress inoculation.
Yeah,
and the other
correct.
person wants to kill you, or they're trying to hurt somebody else, and you're not trying to have collateral issues.
Bystanders, right?
And everybody's got a phone on you because everybody would rather put a phone on somebody than helps, which is also another whole podcast I can go off about all day. But as far as part of the problem with law enforcement, honestly, anybody wants to help out there, is they are not afforded enough training time.
Yeah.
They literally get about the equivalent of 2 months max a year of training in hand-to-hand, de-escalation work, takedown work, and everything else. Law enforcement spend a lot of time having to deal with a lot of junk that's paperwork, the hours, the things like that, the way things roll over. And then the other side of it is they're not funded well enough. And all this whole, here I go.
Defund the police.
Defunding the police. I would like to punch everybody in the mouth.
It's like we need to overfund the police.
Yeah, yes, honestly. But people, I want to be safe and I want to live in this neighborhood, but I don't want to pay the taxes to help fund the police so I can be in the safe neighborhood. Yeah. It's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't have a better word for it.
I think I listened to a podcast where Jocko was talking about, doing some kind of like, 1 week every month, you have a full week of training, for a police officer. Yes. But to do that, you'd have to pay police officers more. You'd have to have more police officers on staff. Yes. You'd have to make it. Yes. You'd have to create a better working environment for cops to attract, more people to do that.
So what we do to try to help with that is we do a train the trainer. We train the defensive tactics instructors.
Oh, okay.
We cert them, and then at their leisure, they can help. We help them organize to get into our gym. So in other words, our gym becomes a facility that they can bring their entire squad in. Mm-hmm. We work real tight with about 5 agencies here around town. PV has been in a lot this year already. They'll do block training 4 to 6 times a year. Their SWAT will come in about the same amount, run particular scenarios. Sometimes they're bringing in chest cams, running stuff by me. How does this get better? How do we do that? And so they're getting in the better habit of, I want to be a better law enforcement officer. It's not always, and sometimes it's on their own time, Now, mind you, it's paid for because Ancient's paid for it. So they've literally got 24/7 access to our gym anytime. So if they're going to do a 3 to 11, they can come off, hit the gym at night, go home, come back in the next morning. They can get on the mat and get some more work in. And the hard part right now that's tough is almost every single agency out there, it's hard to hire.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be. Would you want to be a cop right now?
No, it's not exactly.
No, it's so. A lot of what we do in the gym is I just got a dedication and a love for our first responders. When 9/11 hit, that was kind of a big hit to me. Could have joined the military early on. Yeah, I was offered a job at DEA when I was first going into college, and a couple other 3-letter agencies had talked to me, and I was sucked into a whole fighting career, and it's going to be glorious. I'm going to be this thing, right? So actually, ego got in my way, and then come 9/11, I was really tight with a lot of first responders. I trained a lot of them, and a lot of them were called out that day, right? And I'm calling on my brothers. I'm like, hey, what do I do? How do I get them? Like, you can't. And I was distraught, bad. And so dove in even harder from that point on, which is you're kind of talking about the inception of my gym really starting to grow at that point. And so in one of our original spaces, once we'd moved up into the Leawood Overland Park, Prairie Village area, we have a flag. This is the original 47. And what it is, it's a flag that we've had done. We have T-shirts with this as well. And it's a reminder to me, it's a solemn affair about why I do what I do. So our flag has got 47 skulls on it, and it's 47 people that I have trained personally that we lost since then, people that I trained that were first responders that have died in their call of duty, given the ultimate sacrifice, didn't come back to the dirt, or even I lost in 9/11. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, now it's 53. It's not 47 anymore. But we had it painted on the wall. We're still trying to find a place for it in our new space that we've got. But just so when I walk in and I hit that, I would say it's on my Jeep. It's on the hood of my Jeep. Everywhere I go, I see that. And it's a weight I choose to carry. But it's also that message of back to let's get back up when we're doing our workout. Why we do what we do isn't always just about us. So when we get into, WODs around 9/11 and Veterans Day, it's very, very solemn in our gym, but you will never see other people give more effort than when I get into their head about why we're doing what we're doing on that particular day. Because it isn't about, it's going to be a hard workout and you're going to feel lottie-dottie good and you can do the bra thing and we worked out on our hero WOD. But why you're actually doing it is to understand some of that suffering, take some of that weight, understand that families and mothers and daughters and sons are out there and they've lost their loved ones. They're not coming back. Mm-hmm. And that weight to carry and have that appreciation for our first responders, whether they're military, law enforcement, firefighters, nurses, some of our first responders we also refer to now are teachers because of what I had to go through in COVID. My mom and both my parents were educators. And so in understanding that's not a glorified life either. And it's a very, very difficult thing to do. But to give back through the suffering we do during that workout, it's bigger than you. Mm-hmm. And when you're willing to face that suffering and do it on a daily basis to push, then when life does smack the shit out of you, because it's going to, you've got the resilience and the callous that you're speaking to walk right through it. Other shit just starts rolling off your back better. When you learn to face that every single day, no matter what I have on the board when you walk in there, and something else happens later today, well, fuck, it wasn't as bad as the 100 turkeys you had upset just had to do.
It's the reference point it gives you. So it's like, you can always be like, this is bad, but it's not, like you were saying, it's just not nearly as bad as, what I've already done this week or today or, whatever. So.
Yeah.
That's the 47.
Yeah, it's dope, man.
And on our Memorial Day WODs, we bring a flag out to. We normally do an outdoor workout.
Yeah,
and
you're trying to get me to.
No,
to
I mean it's a really powerful experience because the workout is a challenge. People, we add a weighted vest to what we're doing or whatever, but then he passes around his flag and we
kill me. Yeah, so this.
Take it on the way.
This flag, so my best friend, shout out to Rhino, brother from another mother, definitely. I don't associate well with a lot of people, but that flag came home on a team member of his casket, and it was presented to me because of the training that I've done with teams, and it's one that we carry on our backs during a lot of Memorial Day WODs. So I've got it. That flag will get passed to somebody else, and that becomes the weight. A lot of times we're carrying other weights, kettlebells, or we're wearing a vest, or we're carrying plates overhead and doing ridiculous shit. But it's interesting to watch people, because I try to stand up back enough on some of the workouts when we're doing them, to when that flag hits their back, it may as well be 500 pounds compared to what they were doing. But then they get more upright with it, and it's an honor to carry that weight. But then every single time it gets passed around to that person, you see them just gain that much more energy, that much more spirit behind what they're doing. So I guess, I mean, as far as going back to like the 30-year-olds that are discovering who they are, a saying that I love is find what you love and let it kill you. And I'm kind of about that every single day. And that's kind of my driving force, because I absolutely love what I do.
It's super easy to tell how passionate you are about it. And I think that passion has to be one of the, starting points if you're going to be an entrepreneur that's successful, because passion is basically what gets other people to buy into what you're selling, basically.
Yeah, you attach so much more meaning to these workouts. We've all done Hero WODs ourselves. We've organized them, within our company. And, I sincerely appreciate how much time you take with the members to let them know the true meaning behind this, and that you want them to all sit with it for a minute. And, whether it's a moment of silence or carrying the flag, people are having to really, really wrestle with what was sacrificed for them to be able to do that workout that day.
Right. For the simple fact there's a gym for you to go to. Right. I mean,
that you have the freedom to go to when you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I always liked, when we do Murph, I go to MC CrossFit, and they have a little video where they play a portion of Lone Survivor on there, and it gets you riled up, man, because you watch that and you're like, oh shit, what an absolute nightmare to be caught in something like that, and all I have to do is go out here and run a a couple miles, do some push-ups, pull-ups,
a little bit of guilt from you complaining about the traffic on the way there, squats, little things like that along the way.
Right.
On a lighter note, somewhere along this way.
No, let's stay dark, dude.
No.
I kind of live in this space, so I apologize.
There was this one time where you met your future wife, Erin. How'd that happen?
So I was in the gym. I was a client in the gym. My cousin.
Martial arts, or was it more of the?
It was more of the fitness side, boot camp.
Gotcha.
So at that
Boot
time,
camp at that time.
He had martial arts going on, but my cousin was talking about how sore she was, and I'm like, whatever, you're not that swag.
What year was this?
This was 2003. That's what's on my waiver. Yeah, he always threatens me. He's like, what's on your waiver? You signed it.
Oh, I have that paper waiver in a song too.
Will you come looking for me?
Yeah.
I disappear. No. So I started on the boot camp, and I have never been so sore in my life. I remember texting or calling him afterwards. I was like, I think I really just completely destroyed my entire body. I've never been this sore. I played sports forever, and I love to move. But
he's like, what color's your pee? Is it
dark
brown? Because we might have a problem.
I'm dying. And then after that, several individuals. So then I kept going back because I like pain, I guess. And then several ladies were training up to fight. And actually, no. Before that, several of the guys were like, come on, you need to try martial arts. I'm like, martial arts. I have no interest. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do something, be such a fool. And then I started trying. I was like, well, I don't have the time. It's this and that. And then I dove in, and I don't even know how many hours we used to train.
Yeah. We were
2
minimum
2 hours
2,
a day.
3, yeah. Saturdays were insane. Saturdays we'd go about 9 a.m. to 1 in the afternoon.
And then
just solid.
But ridiculous. Then you guys went on a date afterwards?
And then we went on a date. And then here we are.
Yeah. What was the first date? Where'd you guys go?
Where'd you take me?
Yeah. Where was your spot, Johnny? You had a spot.
Did you have the bakery at the time?
I did not have a bakery at the time. So okay. That actually, and that's his, I guess at that point, I had a wholesale production kitchen, and I was baking for wholesale clients. and I thought
what that means for our listeners is that you were baking in a commercial kitchen and then taking those goods and selling them to individual vendors like a coffee shop.
Like Dean and DeLuca. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And coffee shops and that kind of thing. And so then I thought about, I had gone to culinary school. I thought about a retail location. I also thought about all the stuff I didn't know. And I had all the reasons why
Tons of fear.
I was not ready. And then we looked at locations all the time. We were always driving around town looking at locations. And then the one in Prairie Village stood out to me as this little 1,200 square foot shop. It was bright purple. Inside was a smoothie shop. And we went in there. Actually, I was like, you know what? This is here and I don't want to go in. He goes, well.
It had been vacant about 6 months.
He goes, I think it might be perfect.
I had clients in Mission Hills at the time. So this is still, I was still.
You were driving
at
Mission.
At that point, I was running the gym.
Every day.
But I was still had some clients who were not coming in. I was still traveling to some homes.
Do we remember the year? This is
2006.
Sure.
Yep. Probably.
So we were dating at the time.
Yeah,
at that time we were dating.
You guys weren't engaged or married yet?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that's a funny story too, but we'll get there. Maybe.
But we kept going, and I just kept noticing that place because I had gone in there before when it was running a smoothie shop, and it didn't make it. And it's that little outcropping that's in Prairie Village
like it
shops.
faces
If you're
Mission
familiar
Road.
with, there was like 3 shops, right? There was a flower shop that's been there forever. That was there, and then this yogurt shop that's still there. So those 2 are still there. The smoothie shop didn't
And
make
Starbucks was there next door.
Oh
yeah.
That's a decent neighbor to have.
That's how I got my clientele. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So yes, you're right. So 4 shops were in there, and so we just kept driving by. And one day we're driving by, and I'm like, "That's your shop." She goes, "No." I said, "Yeah, that's your shop." She goes, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Retail. You're ready to do this." I was like, "You're at the bottom of Mission Hills." Because I had clients out there. I'm like, every one of these women throw a party for every other reason you can think of up in Mission Hills.
And they were buying from me already.
They were already buying, but I'm like, if you open up here,
you're adding so much credibility and legitimacy to your business.
Your money.
Yeah.
And then.
So I did. No. So we walked through, and I was like, this is never gonna, like, it's purple, it's ugly, like, all the stupid stuff you say.
And all the things that you can change.
All of that I don't know. Right. And then all of my fear, and then I could not sleep. And then I couldn't sleep again. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I was 24.
I was not.
And so, nobody wanted to lend me money. I didn't have any money. And, I think I went to maybe 8 banks, and finally my dad's banker was like, yeah, I'll do this deal. But
SBA loan?
He's got a cosign. It actually wasn't even an option, like, at that point. So that would have been 2006. Yeah.
Before the financial crash.
Yes.
That probably would have stopped you from getting
honestly,
that loan.
yeah. I mean, had it been a little later, but also then out of the gate, I just thought it was really hard to make money, which it was, but I didn't know any different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how in school they'll teach you a bunch of shit you don't ever need to know, and then they're like, but they don't tell you like, hey, let me explain what a mortgage is. Let me explain how you get a mortgage. Let me explain how you do a bit.
Yes.
I mean, I learned how to write a check in high school for sure.
Yeah.
Like they taught me how to write a check.
But like balance your checkbook?
Balance your checkbook. We had to balance it in the sense of like all made up.
Right.
It was all made up scenarios. And it seemed really tedious, something that I wouldn't ever really want to do, right. And these days, like, who's writing a check, right? So I don't know what they're doing these days, to be honest.
I don't think I understood assets or liabilities till I took an accounting class in college, and it wasn't like explaining. It was just like, this is how you do.
I had to read Rich Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad has how
it wasn't like
liabilities.
they didn't explain cash flow. Anyways, this is kind of off subject, but it's funny how when you're starting a business, you think like, oh, that's not for me. Starting a business isn't for people like me. It's for like business owners. Those are different. Those are different people.
And I was a child. Like I had no idea what. And I think also sometimes now people are like, oh, that's so brave of you. I'm like, no, I was just stupid. Like I didn't know how hard it would be. And I just love to bake. And then I had somebody come in and like, oh, have you read the E-Myth? And like, well, what's that? And so I read it and I was like, oh shit, I made the wrong choice. Like, this isn't right for me. Then I shouldn't be selling cookies. I should just be baking cookies somewhere.
I want to be an operator.
But then that's not true.
It's a great book, by the way.
Yes, for sure. So then that little 1,200 square foot shop, we weren't quite done with construction. right before Thanksgiving. I had pie orders rolling in, and I was like, we got our health, our clearance at the health department, and it's like, well, either they can pick up the orders out back, or we can just go ahead and open 2 days before Thanksgiving because I love pain. And so we opened right before Thanksgiving, and it
sold 1 million pumpkin pies.
We sold everything. I remember looking at my sister and looking at the pastry case, like, what was that?
Yeah, I've sat in your spot now, which is amazing that we're talking 16 years later now.
This next month will be 15 years.
15 years. So I'm sitting in your spot and I'm watching people just walk in and walk up to the case and just be like, give me one of those, give me 3 of those, give me 4 of those, like not even paying attention to how much stuff costs, which is awesome. You know what I mean? It's also a bakery. It's nothing's extraordinarily expensive, of course. And it's just awesome to watch people, love everything that you're making. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
It's cool to see, and
we might have
to see
had
the staff
some
care so much too.
The podcast. And
Yeah, we've sampled a few.
I liked everything too.
All the good stuff in there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, but the thing is, when you don't, I think where I was scared too is, I had only bought cookies at this place and this place and this place, and they cost this much, and I knew my numbers enough. I had done enough math to know I need to charge this. Will anyone pay that? I don't know. But that Starbucks crowd, they got their latte and then they just rolled right into the bakery. I just propped the door open as much as we could. Even in the winter, at first we propped the door open so they would come in. Yeah,
playing the pricing game can be a losing battle, especially if you have a premium product. It's like, hey, listen, I'm not saying that I'm just saying that we have a product here that's, a little bit better than what you would normally, and that's just going to cost you more. And people understand that,
Taste it. What do you think?
Well, the long story of this, if you're wanting to be in business for a long time, is that you can never be a price, that can't
race
be your
to the
number.
bottom.
It's you cannot make price be your number one draw, because that customer isn't loyal. They're loyal to the price. And so the minute that somebody is cheaper than you, then you are now losing that customer. Mm-hmm. So you can't build a brand that way. Unless you're Walmart.
How did the conflicting businesses? How do you guys live under the same roof when you got somebody who's got a bakery?
Yeah, the ultimate question: how are you guys in such great shape?
Yeah, because I just tasted.
I have a really good trainer.
We've tried these baked goods.
I just had a cream cheese brownie, and I would have that every day. If you brought that home, oh my god, I'd just be in big trouble.
Dessert. Well, I think. So one of the things that I got in the best shape that I've been in, I would say, and besides, the other time, was when I was fighting. And so that was I think my last fight was 2009, because he had several females that were training, so they need a training partner. So I got the shit beat out of me all the time. I'm not a natural on the mat. I love it very much, but I'm not.
You love the challenge, but it's not your gift.
She'll punch a bitch though.
I will. Yes.
We got to get into this.
Or whoever. But so being so that training.
Guys are bitches too. Just to be clear, she'll punch you
on occasion.
We would do the same thing at the exact same time. We're like, here's Luke. We're just joking, Luke. We love you.
We need a punching bag.
But so figuring out, all the things and what it took to actually cut weight for a fight, because I'd never really cared about the scale before. And then they said, you got to weigh this. And so then there was that.
So we were doing organized fights at a venue.
This was at Harris. I was at the Voodoo Lounge.
So this is MMA?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Was that ever, and just to ask you, Johnny, because of obviously, you were saying you had that time where you felt like ego got in the way in your career.
Yep.
In that moment, did you ever decide, gosh, dude, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, The Ultimate Fighter started around that time. Mm-hmm. Did you ever think in your head, I'm obviously going to try out for this show?
Good question.
Yes, and in no other,
because we know a couple of the guys that have been on the show.
Right. And no other clarity that in that time, I'm already old.
Yeah. In the fighter world,
there are a lot older fighters now. I would do it now.
Sure.
Honestly. Wants to fight an old guy. But
we got some really good fighters in Kansas City.
We do.
We do.
Phenomenal. Fantastic. I've been very fortunate, the people that I've gotten.
You got Glory across the street, didn't you?
Yep.
From your gym?
Across Metcalf.
Yep.
Yeah, we have James. James Krause is our second episode ever.
James is a good dude. He's
really good
dude.
He's
done a phenomenal job of building a good culture around his group, his family of fighters, and they have a particular way that works really well for them. I've had the fortunate, but to have a lot of people cross over, use us for camps.
Sure.
Some of our in-house people have done really well, all the way up into Bellator. We've assisted in some camps of those that have fought in UFC out of Kansas City. We've had some really good fighters go through our gym.
But for yourself,
Myself,
what happened? Talk to us.
Honestly,
I'm gonna poke.
Yeah, it's good.
Don't know. I mean, I took my last fight in 2007. Was the last time I fought, and it is the only. Let people ask this question. It is the only sanctioned pro fight I ever had. It was 2007. A lot of my stuff was underground stuff. My very first NHB fight was in Mexico when I was 15 years old.
NHB stands for
No Holds Barred, precursor to MMA. In other words, there was no weight class, no rules. It was bare knuckle and
human cockfighting.
Yes, it was literally on a gravel road.
Straight up.
Myself, two of my guys with me. We'd fought.
I've had a couple of those when
Kimbo
I was in high
Slice.
school, but
Yeah.
This is different because you got a picture of me at 15. I weighed about 143 pounds.
Yeah.
Blonde mullet.
Baller.
Yeah.
let's go.
Do we have a
Leather
photo?
jacket.
Let's
Do we have a
go.
photo of this that we can put
Yeah.
right here on the
I
podcast
know.
on the YouTube?
I'll look.
See if we can find one of those and then get it to us, please,
Send
for
it to Lou.
for the edit.
I hate everyone now.
Hey, the blonde mullet. You
So
you were
anyway,
trend setting before it was
rock
cool.
that.
You're not liked a lot in Mexico when you're a skinny white blonde kid and you're going to fight anybody. And it was grown ass men, and it was ugly, dirty. I got.
And how did it
scratched
go,
up pretty
though?
Good. I won.
How are your fights?
And then I always suggest to anyone, go to Tijuana, find a fight like that because you're insane and nothing to better do in Raytown than go to Mexico.
Raytown
and find
Beach.
a fight. Yeah. And then try to collect the money.
Oh, tell me about that.
Didn't get any money, just left with our lives. And
Yeah. They're like, sir, we're part of the cartel. We'll kill you. So
Yeah.
get out of
So-
here.
And this is like, to be fair, this is like 86, right?
This is like 84, 83, 84.
Yeah. So we're like, I mean,
So getting across the border
He
is not a
came back
problem
with-
at that
Cocaine
point.
Cowboys
I was
is
about
going
to
on
say,
right
he came
now.
back with a
Yes.
kilo of cocaine.
I
Here you go.
just said I didn't get paid. That's
Yeah.
all I said.
Yeah, not with money. Not with money.
No,
They made it worth your while.
Yeah. I mean, I'd
You were
fought
in
off and
Tijuana.
on. A lot of our guys, when MMA was blown up in Kansas City, we were kind of in forefront of one of the gyms that was providing stuff for a lot of fighters. We had a big team at one time, probably over 30 guys and girls
Very
in there
cool.
at one time. I had the fortunate ability to train a lot of people that have done really, really well. And it felt good about being in that role. I was
Love
asked
being a
to come
coach.
out of my, quote, retirement in 07, had some moron who'd come to town, had been in town for about 3 years, running his mouth that nobody could beat him and blah, 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 blah. And I think they called me out, one, because I'm not nice when I fight. I'm kind of mean. He'd been talked his mouth about a bunch of people, and I think he was close to my age, so I think that was part of the deal too.
Oh, yeah,
we're
dude.
both about 38.
You try to be the best at what you do, and someone says they're better. Like, hey, man, let's
Well,
prove
it's not
this.
just that. What even about me?
Sure.
Because me, I don't give a shit if somebody just calls me out in particular because they don't know me and I don't give a shit. But they were talking about Kansas City as a whole.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, this is my family, and it's a great community of martial artists and fighters, and a lot of people come up, and camps are always kind of, at each other because that's competition. That's just how it is. But it's a great community to be in. Kansas City's done phenomenal over the years with it. And to have somebody come in out of Ohio, I believe, and talk crap for several years, and nobody
Just
called this
disrespect
guy
all the
out.
work everybody's been doing.
And mind you, the promoters at the time, I'm sure they beefed it up a little bit to
Yeah.
get me pissed off, to get me to sign the paper. So I did, and went in, and about a minute, 27 seconds later, I tore out his ACL and his MCL. And he had to close his school.
Other way.
He had to close. Oh,
Let's
that's
go.
sexy
There
right
you go.
there. So you don't really know that's me because you can't see the face. But
Let's
It's a
go.
little blurry.
Those are
but
some locks right there, baby.
I like
Yeah,
it,
dude.
man.
So
That's got to be like 17.
I mean, we have like 10 employees that have that same haircut now. I don't know what's going on, but it's
when
mullet's back.
when Elliot James walked into my gym the first time, I'm like, "You have my hair from 1982, bro. I would like it back."
That's
there's
awesome.
there's that's 1989.
What are those suits you guys are wearing?
So that's a Taekwondo tournament. That's 89. And that is me. That's the final in 89 in a national championship.
So you're bringing that leg down into the side of the dude's head?
I came over his head on the other side of his head and brought it over and broke his collarbone with that.
So you were just, dude, okay, so did Jean-Claude Van Damme like inspire you at all? Come on.
Okay, so.
This is the 80s. You're kickboxing.
The 80s.
Come on.
Yes.
I mean, dude, I grew up watching all those movies, and like that is some of the best movies.
Who didn't go home and try to do the splits on the chairs? And
I don't know what it was, but like that time frame, like Sidekicks, Surf Ninjas, Three Ninjas,
Karate Kid,
Karate Kid, like dude,
Teenage Ninja Turtles.
I was in on it.
I mean, dude,
Yes.
you didn't fight without weapons, then you weren't cool.
You know what James said when he was on our podcast that like really made an impact on me. He goes, you can have more money than me, you can be better looking than me, you can have all these things, but at the end of the day, if I can beat your ass, that's like the end of the line.
Yes, and I have to say, Erin knows my stories
all
on
the
this.
time.
My favorite story, one of my favorort stories is. So, do you guys? How old are you, Joe?
I'm 34.
I'm 35.
Right, so
I was born in 88.
I'm so old. So Lynn Dickey's in Westport. I was the cooler at Lynn Dickey's for several years. So we're like
A
late
what
80s.
at Lynn Dickey's? I'm sorry. A what?
You've seen Roadhouse.
Did I hear a cooler?
Yes.
You did. So I was.
Let's
in charge
go.
of-
Roadhouse
You were a
reference.
Roadhouse guy? Let's go.
You saw the haircut.
nice.
You
Be
saw
nice.
the haircut until it's time
Was there a
to
shirt?
not be
That's
nice.
really my only
Yes,
question.
and you're
Always be
too
nice.
Stupid to have fun.
Did
Yes,
you,
all
did you
of it.
have a
I can-
blind
I can
friend
act
who
out
played
the
guitar?
entire movie if you would.
This is awesome. Hey, so Kyle was a bouncer as well,
That's
and that's
true.
where we met.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
a bouncer at a club, and the first guy that hired me at Subway Superstores was also a bouncer. He still works at a nightclub in Vegas to this day. But this dude told me, he's like, I was like, hey, like, what's the training like to become a bouncer? He's like, you just watch Roadhouse.
That's it.
And he's like, and I'm like, are you dead
quote
serious? He's
Roadhouse,
like,
you
just,
walk in.
just
Yeah.
it's the training video. You watch Roadhouse and you're done.
Yeah.
Be really nice until it's time not to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I was cooler was because I also trained all other bouncers. We had 14 bouncers in there. It was a huge bar. It's where World Market now sits at the bottom of the hill. They tore the building
It's a
down.
great
So-
location.
And at the time, Lynn Dickey's was ridiculous. It was a 2.5 hour wait to get in on
spot.
Friday and Saturday nights. It was dumb, and because I'd worked security stuff already, that was why. So I'm also watching, I'm watching the bar, make sure nobody's skimming.
Yeah.
All the things.
And you're all of like, let's say 175, 180.
No.
What are you?
No, I was maybe 160 pounds.
Even better. Yeah. Everybody doubting
They
the
have
shit out
no
of you.
idea.
The
Yeah.
best.
I
can't
very well
wait.
could
I
have
can't wait
been-
for this story.
I very well could have been Patrick Swayze's stunt double.
Yeah.
For sure.
with the mullet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But at that time, actually, I had a flat top. But anyway.
Let's go.
I did.
Did you have the mullet with the flat top? Because that's a good combo, sir.
No,
Ah.
that is never a good combo. Somebody lied to you.
I'm telling you right now, that's
Rat
a good
tail.
combo.
He just had a rat tail. Sorry,
I
you
was
go.
going to say, take your hat off. Let me see what's happening.
Pulled the rat tail at one point. But so we're throwing this guy out of VIP. He was being an asshole to a waitress or something. And same thing as James would say. Get this guy to the door, push him out the door. Two of my guys took him out. I'm standing there to make sure he behaves. He turns around, takes a step. So I take a step out. And he reaches his jacket, and I'm about to, because I don't know what he's going for.
Sure.
He pulls out his checkbook. And he goes, I could buy you and this fucking bar and everybody in it with one check. And I said, and I will kill you with your own fucking pen before you could write the goddamn check. And he went home.
Yeah.
So same thing. It is honestly, there's yes, I agree with James. Absolutely, there's absolutely a sensation being able to walk down the street and knowing it doesn't matter
On a primal level.
Let's talk about
primal,
this.
your place in life or your stature
Yeah.
Because
to be able to whatever, you're rich, don't give a shit.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
because of your experience, and this is still puzzling to me at times, people that we don't know sometimes will be in the car, which is even like when we're walking, you can kind of feel someone's energy. They'll nod or bow to him, and I'm like, but you're wearing a like 20-year-old sprawl hoodie. And they'll just kind of like bow and know. And I'm like, well, how do they know who you are? Like, how do they know? And sometimes we're in the car and they'll look over and somebody will like kind of nod and bow. And it's it's cool as shit, but like.
It's embarrassing.
It's the energy, dude.
No, and I'm not, but it's, why is it embarrassing? It's true.
Well, it is. It's well, on my end, it's weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that's not why you did it. It's not what you expected.
No, it's not that. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I just do what I do. I'm not walking around, hey, you better bow to me. You were my student 20 years ago. But I mean, I've trained a lot of people, and in all honesty, I've also been hit in the head enough that I don't remember everybody.
Sure.
Oh, he doesn't remember names a lot. Yeah.
I'm Jeff.
A lot of my fighters have actually called me Puddin because that's all that's left of my frontal lobe. So.
Do you guys know Zach Cummings?
Yeah.
Zach. So when I was a bouncer,
Yeah.
he was the guy that trained me.
Okay.
And I remember the first night that
Who else was a bouncer there? Come on.
Well, we had a lot.
Mike the Menace Johnson.
Oh, Mike
dude.
Johnson. Yeah, if you guys
Who's
know
still
Mike.
a UFC fighter to this day.
Yeah.
Was also throwing people out of the same club as Kyle.
Zach
Hilarious.
was training me, and I remember on my first night, he's like, dude, this job it's pretty easy, man. You just need to like stand over there. If somebody gets too drunk, just throw them out. It's like, okay, cool. He's like, but give me backup if if there's like a group of guys and they become a problem. And, Zach has cauliflower ear. He looks like he would just kill somebody.
He absolutely said, looks like don't fuck with me.
Yeah. And I remember
Mike was sneaky, though.
the first night, he is dragging somebody out drunk. And I'm like, oh, shit, I got to go help Zach. He told me to come help him. And so he's dragging somebody out drunk. And I come up and I like push the guy as he's dragging him backwards. And I knock Zach down onto his back. Zach breaks a table and the table like hits him in the head. And he's like, dude, get this guy off me. So I yank the guy off him. I throw the guy out. And Zach turns and he looks at me and he goes, dude, don't do that again. Don't push the guy onto me. Like, that's not good. He's like, all I wanted you to do was be there for me in case his buddies tried to jump on me. I said, okay, I won't do that again. My bad, man.
Kyle's the ultimate team player.
On-the-job
He listens to directions.
Yeah.
Like
Helperton
he did exactly what he told.
I was like 260 pounds at the time, and so like I had a lot of man behind me to just
Yeah. So let's talk about, you guys are both coolers, if you will. Let's talk about a cool.
Listen, dude, you probably can't put us in the same category. Like, he knew what he was doing as far as martial arts go. I was just like a big meathead that was throwing people out.
Yeah, I know,
but there's different.
But there are some.
I feel like I missed out on a good part
There's
of
some
life.
there's got to be some good stories here. So, give me your ultimate throw out of somebody where it was dicey, where blows were exchanged.
That just wakes him up. He likes it.
Yeah, he's one of those things where you punch him and he just looks at you and doesn't move and is like, do it again.
That's scarier.
Yeah, way
Or
scarier.
when he drops his hands.
You should see the foreplay at home.
Yeah.
Hey now.
There's more slap than tickle.
But when you're 160 pounds, like, people have these preconceived notions, and like there's got to be a good story where you beat the shit out of a 250-pound dude.
Mm-hmm. Probably one that stands out was I had to fight 8 guys.
Oh, so you literally were Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No, never that big.
Were you just tornado fisting it?
Yes. No, we'd myself and it was another bar, and myself and a couple other guys had thrown out about 3 guys. They went and got friends, came back, started taking baseball bats to headlights in a parking lot. Oh. And so we went out, dove in. 2 of my other guys got hurt. And to be honest, there were 8 of them. I probably fought 5 or 6. My other guys were kind of busy with them. Some guy blindsided me really well, caught me with a sucker punch coming from almost behind, broke my orbital. My eye immediately closed. Turned around and looked at it because it didn't knock me out. So I turned around and looked at the guy with an eye shut and kind of looked at me and went, and he turned white. And then the great story about this, I'll get to it in a minute, but jacked his face up really bad. I kicked him in the stomach, kicked him in the face, laid him out, got in the fight with the other guys. I can't describe how much, really what happened in all of it other than throwing and hitting and kicking and punching and laying people until the cops showed up. But then as the cops were pulling up, I was still pissed I'd been hit because this is pretty.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he'd been told he had nice eyes. So he just broke one. Yeah.
But I turned around with my guys who was like kind of holding that guy. I'd already jacked up, and I said, "Where's the guy that hit me?" He goes, "Here." And I proceeded to just continue to beat on this guy because I was pissed until the cops show up. Jump 3-4 years later when I'm at Lindicky's. I was always a little wary, particularly when I'm doing that job, so I come up and knew my name. And I come walking out of the restroom, and some guy's having a drink, and I can't really see his face, and he kind of puts his head down, finishes his drink, and he kind of had his head in, and he goes, "You John Brown?" I'm kind of taking a step back. I'm like, "Yes, why?"
Yeah. Who's asking?
And he looks up. This dude's got a scar from here to here where I'd kicked him in the mouth, and it had ripped. This is that same guy, and it ripped it. And so I'm still not recognizing him.
Yeah.
And I go, "What?" And he goes, "I want to thank you." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You beat the shit out of me and my brother and some of our friends several years ago." And he goes, "I woke up that next morning, and every morning I've got to look at this, and it completely changed my life." And he like shook my hand.
Really?
That's
So
unbelievable.
out of like one of the biggest fights I ever had, that I hate that takes something like that to change somebody's persona and perspective of life and who you are and the fragility of life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But good on him for
He had a great perspective about it, you know.
can't hide it at that point. It's a freaking
Right.
scar on his face.
He's half a Joker.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so there was a part of me that was like, actually kind of sad for the guy in a way. Happy for him, but in the same sense, sad that that's what it took.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, sometimes, you get into a
Kyle, you break in,
position.
you turn anybody into the half a Joker.
I did not. No, I mainly just let you in for free with your dates and made you look like you were cool.
What about
here,
your
here, sir? Let me let you in through these velvet ropes,
Mr.
Mr.
Wasserman.
Wasserman.
So good to see you. That was really fun. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely loved that part.
Mm-hmm.
The gnarliest thing I ever saw was one of the dudes that I worked with. We were kicking a drunk guy out, and we were kicking him out the back, and the guy fell to the ground, and on the side of the ground there was a brick. He grabbed the brick and whapped the guy that I was working with in the head. And the dude was bleeding everywhere, and me and Zach went and chased him down, tackled him, did unspeakable things to the guy because
Curb stomped.
Our buddy Ruben, who we were working with, he ended up. I mean, dude, he had a chunk out of his head. It was crazy. I think the guy probably got arrested for aggravated assault or assault with a deadly weapon or something like that. But that was pretty crazy because it was like all of a sudden things got real right there.
Real fast.
Super fast.
But then again,
that's how it happens,
because we had Michael and Zach and they were both up and coming, Zach, I think, was just about to be. Michael had just gotten into the finals on the Ultimate Fighter, and Zach was about to be on the Ultimate Fighter. Yep. There wasn't a lot of people that were looking for trouble in the bar that we worked at purely because of like that.
Nice.
There were some times before they ascended. I worked at Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen as a server at 19 years old, and Mike the Menace Johnson was also a server, and he'd be like, "Dude, you want to come to one of my fights, dude?" And I was like, I mean, I don't want to go to your amateur ass fight, dude, to be honest with you, but like,
you probably suck.
But I'll like,
He's actually awesome.
Not even that. Just like, I don't have any money. I'm 19 years old. What are we talking here? And he's like, dude, I can get you a ticket for like $20. And I was like, $20? That's like going to a concert. You guys are amateur as hell. Like, what am I doing? And then like, little did I know, of course, like, yeah, I definitely have some different perspective now. Should have gone.
Oh man, I went to one of their fights. It was so fun, dude. Those fights, the Springfield fights, because they fought for Springfield Fight Club, and I'm guessing that you probably were familiar with those guys because they would come up and fight. Actually, dude, Zach and James fought each other.
No, Mike and James fought each other.
Mike and James
beat them in Springfield, and everybody in Springfield was just like calling.
Yeah,
James
we were trying to
word.
start fights. I think I was at that fight, but dude, those like little amateur like local fights are so fun to be at because it almost seems like there's less rules, at least early. This was probably 2008.
Oh, Erin, you tell us what happened at the Voodoo Lounge.
I mean,
because she was in those fights.
It was brief.
Yeah.
Oh, your fight?
That one
Erin's
was
fight. So
I mean, she was
did you knock
her?
I choked her.
So her
Choked her
first
out?
fight.
My first fight was
She
Tanya
said it
Evinger.
the nicest way possible. She's
Erin's
like,
first
choked her.
fight. It's interesting.
It was nothing.
No, I sent a text to my friend. I was like, she's like, how'd it go? I'm like, we're rear naked. It was great. And I told her the time, and she's like, wait, what's that?
Rear naked choke for our listeners.
Yeah. You did what to her?
Yeah.
NBD.
Now, Erin's first fight, so we trained her up. She's 0-0. And typically when you're doing that, you're looking for somebody who's maybe had no more than a couple fights or work with a promoter, blah, blah, blah. But also what happens in your amateur fights
It doesn't matter.
Somebody will back out in the last minute. And so that's what happened to Erin. And it was like, okay, so they found you another fighter. So it was Tanya Evinger. Tanya. It was her 10th fight.
It was her last fight before she went pro.
I think she was 10
and
0. And so Erin's 0-0. She's 10 0. Erin's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it was bad.
Good on my girl. She gets in there, throws a beautiful cross that actually knocked Tanya back into the ropes. Tanya proceeded to catch her in a guillotine fairly quick.
I'm like, oh.
After that, right? And so loses her first fight, and so then several years later is when we get her back in the cage.
That's when the girls were all training and they were fighting. April was taking kickboxing matches. Yeah. She trained with you for
Noy and Sharice were fighting.
Yeah, Sharice Davids.
I trained Sharice almost all of her fights. Sharice was from our house.
Very cool.
Fighting,
he's now in Congress.
Politician.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I was am I thinking of the same Sharice Davis? She calls me all the time, like not her, but like their.
Yeah.
I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Yep. No, Sharice was a good fighter.
That's wild.
But then so
we were training
training partners coming up. So Erin wanted to take another fight, took it, went in.
Well, no, you told me. He called the bakery one day, actually. And I answered it was, when the phone was on the wall, and I answered the phone, and he's like, you're ready. And I was like, for what? And he's like, your fight. You got to fight. I found your fight's coming up. Ben Garrison.
Yeah.
You decided that I was taking a fight. That was, 2009, I think.
So you were already,
that's cool.
You were making cookies and cakes
so
for
I
a
had
living,
to like
and
dip
then
my
fighting.
hat a little low because I have black eyes.
Some raccoon eyes going.
Yes.
And everybody was wondering what you were.
$20 to knock me out.
When she would train, so obviously
your Mission Hills ladies were asking how's home life.
Like, is everything okay?
What's going on there? Yeah.
You talk to somebody.
I swear a girl did this to me.
Sometimes.
There's always, she always talks about me being me, but there's always, more guys on a fight team than girls, just typically. And a lot of the guys would spar with her.
But they'd be so nice.
And they'd hold back. And I would literally offer $20 if you knock her out.
Wow.
To the guys, just to get her to be able to handle the shot. I believe they'd try to hit her at that point. And during that last camp, though, she knocked out one of our guys.
That was surprising.
And then caught another one with a knee, and I mean, split his crap wide open.
Okay, that was upsetting.
You felt bad?
She
I
did
felt
not
terrible.
Feel bad.
Yes,
no,
I did.
Don't believe her for a second. She's like, oh my God.
You do seem like you're kind of a savage deep down. Like, you're nice. You seem very nice. But there's
terrified.
also, there's a side.
You have to be.
You
have to have.
Redheaded.
But that was, I never, like, the blood and it happened fast and went to the ER. I was like, do we go with him? He's like, no, he's fine.
Be all right. Be all right. Let's shake
Super
it off.
glue.
Let's talk real quick about, so you finished the Live Hard program, right?
I'm on my third year.
Third year. So explain to everybody that's listening that might not know what that is, exactly what you've done through that time.
So that was August of 2020. I started listening to Andy.
Andy Frisella, for people who know.
And specifically, was this the MFCO podcast or the Real AF podcast?
So I found him through Claire Thomas.
Okay.
So on Instagram, I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, my God, she's having so much fun. She looks so alive and she's strong. Like, I'm training, I'm stressed out, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm leaving so much on the table. Like, I want to be, like, she was doing a little challenge and she did 20 pull-ups. And I was like, sweet, I want to do that. I need to do that. I need to get better.
20 pull-ups every day for like 30 days?
No, she was doing a little, like, a horse challenge. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. It was a little YouTube or Instagram video or something. I don't know what it was. But she was doing a challenge with another athlete. And I was like, man. So I started scrolling her feed. And then I saw a picture with Claire and Andy and Sal. And I was like, huh. And she's thanking them for all that they've done for her. And I'm like, I wonder what they've done for her. I went down the rabbit hole. And then I found Andy talking about 75 Hard. So at so 2020 must have been... I think it must have been MFCO.
Yeah.
At that time. Yeah. And then I listened to the podcast. That was this Friday. Had a full meltdown about it all. And I was like, I gotta be better. Like, I have, at that time it was, 25, 30, 30 employees relying on me. I'd had to lay folks off during COVID because our business slowed down so much at first. We have 3 children. We haven't talked about them yet, but my stepdaughter now is 17. And at that time, May was 2 and Jack was 4.
Yep.
And I just felt like I just felt inside out. And so I listened on Friday. I started on Monday, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I have no idea, but I'm going to do these things." And I got the app, and I was tracking all the things. And the first, 75 days was rough. Like, it was hard. It was ugly. I was uncomfortable.
You were like running outside in the rain and stuff. I remember you telling me.
Yeah.
And just to make it work some days.
Yes. And when you have, people are like, "I don't have time," and I don't, 2 workouts, whatever. I was like, well, you just make the time. Like, if that's what and so no fails, no anything. I just did it all. Training in the gym, of course. And then sometimes I drag a piece of equipment outside the gym or do the second workout outside. Usually my first session was at 5 a.m. with the small group that I train with. And then I was probably like 2 weeks from the end, and I was like, God, I've made a lot of progress. And you start looking at your progress pictures, and I was like, I can't be done. It's like you're reading a good book or it's a good movie about to be over. I was like, well, I'm definitely not done. So I started looking. I was like, oh, geez, there's 3 more phases to this. And so I think I took a couple of days off and maybe had a beer, and then was like, all right, well, let's go. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And what the things that started to change for me in the gym, like, did I cut some weight? Did I gain strength? Yes, but it was way more mental for me that we were doing something where we do these holds, these static holds overhead. It's the row. You like kill us on the rower, and then we have to hold the kettlebell.
This is the triathlon where we're doing the bike, the row, and the skiing.
No, just is the till you can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it's called. But you row, you sprint on the row, and then you hold the kettlebells, and you sprint on the row.
Tailpipe?
And then tailpipe. Yep. And then you hold the kettlebells overhead, and you want to die.
Shout
it feels
out
like
to Jim
someone's
Jones.
sitting on your chest. It's terrible. And then you do it until you can't or won't is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I got in there, and I was like, oh my God, I'm fine. Like, I can keep going. Like, whatever that we know with runners and their walls or whatever. I was like, I think I just went over this wall.
It. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, and then after the workout, I just was on a high. I was like, I have never felt that good. And I've been training with you for years. Mm-hmm. At this point.
Over a decade.
Yes. And it's not, it's not a lack of training. It's just what I was putting into it. And I just didn't realize how much I was shortchanging myself before. But this program for me has changed my entire life.
Yeah. David Goggins talks about that, how much you actually have left, when you think that you're at the end, you have
capacity.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question, babe.
Yes.
Right? Because I speak to deep water.
Yes.
Do you think to that point you hadn't fully gone both feet in?
No,
or you did, or maybe,
but I didn't have awareness that I hadn't.
No,
I don't think I knew I hadn't.
Deep water in the gym all the time, and that's the surface looks all right.
Yeah,
a lot of people go into things and they toe dip, and they think they have 100%. They think they're giving because it's that edge, right? Mm-hmm. I'm afraid I'm going to throw up. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I'm afraid maybe I do really good. Then what do I have to do? I have to own up to that.
But like, it's okay to drop your kettlebell. It's okay to fall off the bike. It's okay to fall. It's okay to puke. Like,
people just won't go that far. And so that's what I'm asking her is, and that's the thing I ask people to do is go into the deep water. And it is a psychological thing.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Find that thing. Go all the way under because you're going to have to fight your way back up.
For sure.
Period. And if you don't do that,
you're not going to know.
You're not going to find out who you are.
Yeah.
But the no compromising for me, like the no matter what, I mean, that's the reality. Like, you have rent to pay, you have customers counting on you, you have employees counting you. And now, my team is just about 40 employees. And it's like, I have to be at this level. Like, I have to be optimizing everything I can to serve them.
I think, when you think about the Live Hard program, when people criticize 75 Hard or they criticize Live Hard, it makes me laugh because I'm like, when you really think about it, it's a time management program. Because if you're going to work out twice a day, if you're going to drink your water, if you're going to read your pages, if you're going to do, take your pictures, if you're going to do all of those things, you know what you have to do? You have to plan. Yes. Right? You can't just like wing it, especially with 3 kids.
Yes.
And so like, for me, when I've done the, all the steps of it, it's basically like it teaches you okay, I need to be intentional with my day.
I need the best word for it would be intentional.
Yeah, I need to go into my days and be intentional. And it's
you have to tack every day. You can't just like be passive with it. And
physically, what you get out of it's great, but really, like you were saying, it's mentally, it's like what it's doing to you as far as like creating habits. It's driving habits into your head. Because I've had a lot of bodybuilders like, well, I've dieted for a bodybuilding show. That's the same thing as dieting for a bodybuilding show.
A fight coming up. You have to make weight.
Yeah. Now I had done the program. I'd done the entire Live Hard program the first year, and I went straight into my second year, and we were fighting about something. We were having and he's like, what's the deal and what do you want? And I was like, I really think that, he's like, what should I do? I was like, I really think if you get on this program, it will help you to refocus, reset yourself. And he's
I poo-pooed it.
He's like, I've already done all that stuff. Like,
because everything that's
you
on
sound like
there,
an old athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I've done, right? My old instructor would literally put me, so in the school I trained in Raytown, there was no hot water.
Right.
I actually lived at the martial arts school for 8.5 years, slept on the mat, total immersion.
So he's like, the cold shower, that's dumb.
He put me in the cold shower for half an hour, and if I got out, he'd beat me with a stick. Mm-hmm. So that I'm like 5 minutes of a cold shower. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't. I've been there. Right.
And he's like, that's a cute program that you're doing, honey.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Cute.
But speaking to that, I mean, it is all the things, and I think I'm on day 52 right now of year 2.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So, John, I said, fine, fuck off, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right. So, in spite of you, so jumped into it, and I would agree totally with that on the time management, right? Because I will, a lot of times in my own head as an entrepreneur, overcommit.
Yeah.
And then I'm pissed off. It's like, that didn't fucking happen today.
Yeah.
Right. But the time management that forces you to be in, I think, and what I was going to say on speaking to the time management of the 75 and Live Hard program is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur or even just successful in a career, not a job,
Sure,
but a career, it is a marvelous model.
Yeah.
To be able to follow that, because if you replace all those things with the things that you're going to have to do in business, and you're going to have to plan for, and you're going to have to make the time for it, no matter what, to be successful, it's a great model to build that into your system.
For sure. Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
I don't think anybody who's ever criticized it, I've yet to meet anybody and that has completed the program that said they didn't like it.
Like, this is a waste of time. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, can you be a critic and say there's so many other ways you can go about this, so many other things you could do? Well, of course, there's a lot of routes you can take. There's a lot, but at the end of the day, when you follow a plan and you follow it to a T and you complete the plan, you're going to come out better, you know? And I have people, just to like give a good annotation of this, people would come into our store all the time and tell us what kind of plan they're following. Right. Mm-hmm. We had people doing Weight Watchers, when I first met, and there's all kinds of things I could poke holes in Weight Watchers with, but if you follow Weight Watchers, you're going to get results. Well, hell yeah, absolutely. You're in a calorie deficit. It's all based on points. You know what I mean?
Being honest, yeah.
You're going to stick with it. You're going to get results. Yeah. So it's like, what vehicle do you want to pick that's going to actually match up with your lifestyle that you can be adhering to on a daily basis? So it all comes down to adherence. Can you stick to it? Other than do it.
The other thing that I think is the most marvelous thing about that program is the only penalty or reward is yourself.
Yeah.
You fuck it up.
You have to
it's your own
self-audit.
integrity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing we're talking about the
honor
scar. You
system.
got to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to look at you every single morning. And if you can look at yourself and live a lie, that's one thing, right? Which I think a lot of people do. But in that position, if you fail, you start over.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm. I had to start over on a progress pick. I'm sure we all have a similar story. You know what I mean? I'm day 23. I had to start over a progress pick.
Of all the things I freaking forgot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've fallen asleep trying to read my 10 pages.
Same. Yep.
Yeah.
Book on my face didn't wake me up.
You know what though? What that did, it changed when I read. I don't ever read at night. I always read in the morning.
Yep.
First thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I would do the same thing. And also, I never realized on the weekends I didn't do shit. So like I would not read on the weekends. I would not drink enough water on the weekends. Like
work out. The first Sunday was hard for me, and I was like, "This sucks. Like I gotta do all this stuff," and then it's fine.
Yeah.
Then we just get out with the kids. And
I just talked to one of my longtime clients just yesterday or 2 days ago, and then I did a vlog. I do a weekly newsletter, and in the vlog I was speaking to that exact thing.
Yeah.
Is our society's told you your 40-hour one. Nobody does 40 hours a week. If you're actually working, it's more than that, obviously. But your 40-hour week, and then I'm going to go party on the weekend. Yeah. I'm going to let it go. Why the when you've got the opportunity and you have the time to work on yourself, wouldn't you use the weekend to work on yourself,
Correct.
to move forward? And it's once again, it's that mental switch of what are you going to do with the time that you're afforded.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been preaching recently, I'm doing one of Jordan Peterson's books right now. And one of his favorite things, constantly comes through on my feed is, you're in this life, you're all in. This life's going to kill you.
Yeah. Why
wouldn't you try to find out who you are and what your human potential is and give it absolutely everything you've got? Why wouldn't you? And the other thing that resounds with that I saw recently was I saw a license plate that it reminded me of something. So I'm not a real religious guy, spiritual, Christian, love God. But the license plate said, I owe you God. Where I think so many people look at our society and feel like they're owed something,
right?
Or I need this, or I'm owed that. But it's more of thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Which I speak to that weekend as well. So if you've worked all week, instead of just going, I'm fucking tired, I'm going to go drink a beer and eat a fucking pizza because that's what I deserve. You just told yourself you deserve to be a slob and to be fat as fuck and not move yourself forward at all.
So also when I first heard Andy, I was like, oh, he sounds familiar.
It's like my husband.
Just the honesty. Because, I was like, I can learn so much.
You know what Andy taught me from a really young age. So I've worked for Andy since I was 20 or 21. He's worked for him since he was 18. And one thing that he taught me a long time ago was that the truth is actually the nice thing to do.
Yes.
And we were like, when I was a kid, some of the things that would come out of his mouth, you'd be like, wow, that's kind of mean,
Yeah.
But then he'd be like, is it mean? Or has anybody never told you that before? Because if you don't, the people that you surround yourself with, if they don't tell you the truth, then they're not being nice to you.
Yes.
I just spoke to the same thing on this exact same vlog, which is my bedside manner is not phenomenal. She can attest.
I mean, it's like in fight
but
camps or when we're intense about
brutally
things.
honest.
It sucks.
When it's like,
but he doesn't care. I mean, maybe his feelings do get hurt. I don't know, but you still just tell the truth anyway.
No, yeah. If you're sucking, right? The reason I don't want you to suck, number one, like we're doing deadlifts, right? You're not doing it right. I don't want you to get fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't want you to progress, but I also want you to pay attention to what you're doing and care enough about what you're doing to want to be better.
For sure.
So whether it's a lift or if it's how we're defending ourselves or striking or grappling, whatever you're doing, why not do it at 100%? Why not totally tune into you? And that goes back to that hour we're spending to dictate the rest. But in talking about the reality of things, Goggins says it in a great way. You're upset. Somebody called you a fat fuck. And the reality may be you might be fat and that doesn't feel good. But if you want to be different than that, fucking do something about it.
You're in control.
Yeah.
You've always got that choice.
Yeah.
Always. You can change it. We say this around our house all the time with the teenager, and you can change that anytime you want. When she's got a thing, like teenagers do, you have the choice. You can change that anytime you want.
Yeah. I've been, noticing about myself recently that, the more that I remove any kind of like emotion from things and I just look at things logically, the happier I am. Yes. So like, I don't have to wrap emotion into everything. It's like black or white. It's like, if I feel like I'm too fat, well, guess what? I need to, lose some weight. There's no emotionality attached to it. It's just a black and white thing. Like, probably eating too many of those delicious cheesecake brownies.
Well, it brings up a serious question I have for you, Erin, because we didn't really touch on this. And it's like, dude, you make some of the absolute best, confections known to man. So when you guys have been successful for a very long time, you said your employees have grown, you guys are growing, you're doing great. How do you balance this? Because you're in phenomenal shape. I know you've been doing the Live Hard program for a few years, but your story's, much longer than that. And so I just want to know, what did you have to tell yourself psychologically, on who you wanted to be? Because it's so easy to slip into this, like, well, this is who I am. I'm the owner of a bakery. Right. I have to make sure all this stuff is, consistent and tasting good. I have to do quality control. There's so many ways that you could excuse yourself, you know what I mean? And you don't. And that's just really impressive.
Well, I think that for me, the reality of where I was versus where I wanted to be, there's so much distance between the two that I was willing to do whatever it took to make the change. And at first it was don't touch anything, you know, like no bites, no cheating, whatever. Sometimes I have to taste something. Like that's a part of my job. That's part of what, you know, the deal is, but it is literally the tiniest taste. And
you don't have to finish it.
I don't eat a bite, you know, a whole bite, a whole piece or whatever. But, you know, for me, I didn't like where I was, and I wanted to be different. And the only way that I could see that it was going to be different is if I gave it a whole lot longer than I had in the past, because I had tried and I'd done this and I'd cut for this and I'd paid attention to that. But I wasn't all in, and I didn't feel good. I didn't feel aligned. I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like I was in control of my mind. And I think also in the program, putting the reading in for me has been huge. Like going for the, you know, having to read 10 pages a day sounds like nothing. But some of the books I've read have changed. I mean, reading Extreme Ownership, I was like, I bawled actually when I read that first, because I was like, well, this is nothing like what I'm doing. You know, I need to change this and this and this and this. And I called my director of sales and ops. I was like, we are fucking all this up. Like, we need to make some changes. And so we did.
Extreme Ownership is such a good book. Have you ever listened to it on audio?
Yes. Yeah. So that's,
I've read it and I've listened to it on audio.
I've read it twice, the paper, and then I've listened to it twice, because I was listening to it that night. And I remember right where I was in our neighborhood. It was cold. I was out on my second workout, you know, excited to be reading this book and Jocko and all, you know, and I'm reading, I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, geez. Like, and I'm sure I came back inside and was like, I'm feeling this and this and this and this and this. And so again, just the decision to keep going and to realize this is opportunity. This is failing. I'm not a failure. And so distinguishing those for me also has been big, to see it as the opportunity to fix things rather than destroy myself and think that.
The best books are like mirrors, you know, like when you read a book and you're like, oh shit, that's me, you know, and I wouldn't have never known that unless I read this and I like self-audited myself. Extreme Ownership was like that. It sounds like
it's mandatory for a manager.
Yeah, we make our managers read it.
Well, I think that's a trait that entrepreneurs have to come to things with, and that's that you're never done learning.
Yep.
You've got to stay humble, and you've got to be willing to put in the work.
You're talking our core values right now.
When it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. And that's where, same blog, but I'm speaking to this week, is the same thing. Is I've had a couple of clients who are like, you know, it's hard to get in here in the morning. It's hard to get, I'm like, no shit. And here's one. Sorry, it's hard. It's always going to be. I've done this my whole life, and there are days I don't want to. You've heard Jocko say it. You've heard Guy all say it. The same thing. I don't have an emotion about it anymore.
Right.
It's just what I do.
It's who you are.
I go in and freaking smash it. It may as well be drinking a glass of water or breathing. It's just what I do. And I've had people over the years ask me, how do you, it's like, there isn't a how about it. You make a freaking decision and you go do it.
Ahead of time.
And it's, and there are some days, there is the psychological, yes, the preset, but there's also the days where I have to get on people, because sometimes it is people training up for a fight, because you get mentally exhausted when you're doing a weight cut, things shift, and it switches to move your ass, your brain will follow.
Yeah.
So it's training your body enough that we're going to go and do it anyway, and I may leave my freaking brain in the
take some action
for a
first.
minute. Yeah. Your brain will catch up.
And that has been a big learning curve for me as well. And to build the momentum, to do these things, to build it, as opposed to waiting for it to like fall from the sky. Like, it's not coming.
No, nobody's coming.
Momentum is not coming. You have to get moving, and then it creates that.
Right.
And those are life lessons that I hope that everybody listening, you know, eventually learns, because it's something that took me a lot of years to build those calluses, to figure that part out, that you know, nothing's given, and you're not, you know, what you want, or if you truly want it, you got to do it. And James Clear, you know, wrote Atomic Habits. Have you guys read that one as well?
Several times.
Talks about outcome, you know, based goals versus, you know, building a system and just falling in love with the process, if you will. We've all heard these different phrases, but it's truly where the secret is. You just got to settle in on the system that you like to follow and stick to following that system, and that's the outcome will happen no matter what. 75 Hard is also another program that helps you build the momentum to understand that process, to understand that that's really the outcome. You got in this better shape, and that wasn't even the goal. Right. You know, you're like, oh, I didn't even recognize that was going to happen. Right. You know, right. On a separate note, as we want to wrap up a little bit, I want to ask you both, you know, what's next for you guys individually? You know what I mean? As far as what are you working towards now? Because you guys are always striving for more. So what's next for you?
So,
you got your space. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, like professionally, we have our new event space. So we're building awareness about our event space.
It's called The Space by Dolce. Is that correct?
The Space by Dolce, yes. And so that is the perfect spot for smaller events and parties and showers and
define small for our listeners.
So anywhere from, I mean, you could do a dozen people all the way up to 50 very comfortably. Bring your own everything. Great for workshops and trainings. It is the door opens up into our production kitchen.
Very cool.
So really building awareness about the space and options there. Big time excited about holidays and bourbon pecan pie and pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving.
Oh my God.
At the bakery. Sorry. I
this
also
is the worst time of year for me.
Yeah.
Like I have a sweet tooth.
Kyle loves a confection.
I want to increase my bench.
That's what's up.
I want to increase my dead hang pull-ups. I want to do bar muscle ups, strict bar muscle ups, and still rehab my freaking ankle so I can do something. So that's what's next for us. And figuring out we're also homeschooling. Started in January.
Oh man, what a undertaking!
So figuring out getting a better rhythm there is important.
The other
to me.
one's a senior.
Yeah.
At Shawnee Mission South, we're not gonna.
Yeah, I don't need.
So we went to the homeschool thing last year. We're not gonna mess with that. But
And we love it, and it's
whole other
hard.
podcast.
I was about to say it's
Yeah.
Me and my wife have
figure
talked
what you're
about
putting
that, especially with lots of the It seems like as a parent, it's more and more nerve wracking sending your kids into a public school recently, and but it just seems like such a huge undertaking.
It's totally doable.
Yeah, is it?
Yep. Anytime you want to talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
It's totally doable, and there's some good co-ops where they can go a couple days, and then you have.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here today.
That works out.
They're there. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to tell Kim about that.
Yeah, I'll talk to her. You anything? We'll FaceTime. Chat. That's what kind of got us because we had lots of concerns, and we talked to co-parents, and they're like, "No." And one of my friends was like, "Erin, you know how to prioritize. You will be fine."
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm barely hanging on right now because I got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-month-old, and so like, oh my God.
Okay. Yeah. You're in it.
I'm in the thick right now.
Never gonna sleep again.
You are.
If I get 6 hours of sleep, I'm like, dude, I am so like.
I'm a
my
new
whoop,
man.
I'm like, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get after it today.
I barely get 6 hours.
Yeah.
You're fine.
I think it's just that's
if you're
what
getting
it's
6
training
hours
me
right now at that old kid. You're great.
Yeah,
I might as well be a college kid.
Well, if you brought my wife in here, she'd be like, of course he gets 6 hours of sleep because when the kid comes in the room, he doesn't wake up. I get up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't hear her, so like I don't know what you want me to do. You got to wake me up, I guess. That looks like a problem that you guys have had too.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
No,
May prefers him in the middle of the night. Our 4-year-old, she's, Daddy,
they both do because
can I have a hug?
Yeah.
Because of my security work stuff that I do and exec protection stuff that I've done, I wake up if a fly farts.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the house.
I'm the opposite of that. If you break into my house, I'm screwed.
Like, take whatever, just don't wake me up.
You want to talk a little bit, Johnny, about what you guys have coming up at the gym?
So we've got that fight camp going on. We've got something that I'm trying to build out there at the gym is just reinforcing the culture. Right now, in all honesty, this is the hardest it's been, maintaining the culture in the niche that we are, because I am not a gigantic advocate of a lot of what's going on out there in
woke
society
culture,
right
if you will.
now. The woke culture, if you will. I am not. Be very clear on this. One of my very best friends in the world is a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
He would tell you right now he can't stand what's going on with the culture and things like that. And I don't want to go running off under rails and things like that. But the whole idea that somebody owes you anything and this rollover of things have to be nice and and blah, blah.
Can't offend anybody, etc.
Can't offend. I offend everybody,
but
and
dude,
most
it
of the
was
time
funny.
on fucking purpose, just to see if you've got any fight in you at all.
Right.
So about I've noticed in my gym, and maybe other gym owners that have been there maybe as long as I have, would say the same thing. In maintaining a culture, about every 3 to 5 years, I have a rollover where I have some of the people start to drift off that I would refer to as they toe dipped or were fooling themselves as to how deep in the deep water they actually were, and they're running into something that they're not into that full commitment of
Fully
finding.
dealing with what they need to deal
Right.
with.
And then we get this rollover of niche in the gym again. And we've literally started marketing, not solely to, but around the mindset of our campaign right now is frontline, last line. And that's first responders, your law enforcement, military, retired military or law enforcement, teachers, nurses, triage doctors. Anywhere along that lines, we're running a deal for them, and it's in perpetuity. It will never cost you more than what it's going to cost right now to have full access to everything. That's part of the give back.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that is because they're already coming in with a mindset that is more of like where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a piece of it that I'm somewhat, honestly, to be very, very transparent, exhausted trying to get some of the woke culture to grasp what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it exhausts out of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, here's this, here's this, here's this.
Like all these tools, all these opportunities.
All these opportunities, all these things, and you just,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
It's
workout
hard.
today.
It's hard to coach people that don't really want what they say they want. Yeah.
Because they don't know what they want.
Right.
And they're not willing to try.
Right. They
to
can't
get
figure
there.
out
So-
what they want because they're not really committing to anything.
So speaking to what we're doing is just doubling down on our culture. And if that makes it harder on some that are already in the gym, yeah, guess what's coming. That and then our Iron Arsenal training program. We've got several agencies. We've got security companies in. We've got a civilian lined out program for that. Those that want to defend their own homes better, we have mocked up shoot
You
house.
teach me
like
how
I
to
said.
wake up a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys? So you have a shoot house?
Yes.
Do you?
In the gym.
In the gym?
But also
Yeah.
he'll come to
Yeah,
your
the
house
Oh, but
5,000
it,
square
roll
it's
through.
with it's not with live ammunition. Correct?
It's with Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
cool.
run
We
with
should go
Sims
do that.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, we've done that. We've done some team buildings for some companies where we go through all that, because part of that, particularly in your guys' business, a lot of the companies have come to us, some are Fortune 500, are wanting it for the stress inoculation, even just for their sales force.
Yeah.
Because when you're under pressure trying to get a sale or things like that, it's going to same thing, man. Because we actually have speakers back there, so once we run you through training how to do this or there, sometimes we will run crowd noise, people screaming over the speakers, an AR, the sound of an AR going off.
That's cool.
Over your head. So we increase the stress, so that you've got to be able to perform under those things. And we run loops through it.
That's
so
awesome.
Getting more to the community with that program, which is referred to as the ASSET program. It's agency specific sentinel enhancement training. So any particular agency, and we meet where you are and run that out. We've got about a dozen civilians who've been through the civilian level side of that course that love it. And we even do, like Erin was saying, we'll come to your home and even do audit and assessments on your home security.
Mm-hmm.
And what you need to do, build a safe room in your home. If there were a home invasion, what to do under that sense. What firearms you have. If you don't, love to go shopping with you. And what
Me
to
and
do-
Jeff already have that problem.
Yeah.
We
psyched
need to
about
stop buying guns.
that.
it's and then how proficient are you with them? So then we talk
Yeah.
about that. And then the security company as well. We've got some clients nationwide, and just expanse. I mean,
Yeah.
in all of it, and then desperately trying to find sleep and enough caffeine.
Yeah. I feel you there.
What are you guys reading besides? I know you're reading Atomic Habits.
I'm rereading Atomic Habits.
Rereading.
I got to get back on my shit.
You don't want to know what I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
It's a very boring read. It's called Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell.
Okay.
And it's brutally, it's like this thick. And I've been reading it for a long time.
And you're still reading.
Yeah.
Basic economics, and it's this thick.
Yeah.
For our listeners, that's like 4 inches.
You just gave me a horrible flashback of college.
It's
I dropped my economics class.
you
It
know
was that bad.
but I would say because I've been Andy basically instilled in us, hey, we have a core value, always be learning.
Okay.
So I've read fiction, nonfiction. I've gone through the whole gamut of business books. You know,
tons of leadership books.
Yeah, tons of leadership books. I recently just got to a point where I was like, man, I need to take a break from business books and just read about, you know, something that I'm interested in. I'm interested. The basic economics book is about, hey, you want to know the history of communism? This is the entire history of communism.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but it's also like, you know, it's got some dry parts in it. What about you guys? What are you guys reading?
I am reading Crushing It.
Oh, okay.
Gary.
Yeah.
Second book, because I read the first one and I was like, some of this is kind of like it didn't really.
Crushing It is the one where he gives you a bunch of stories of people who read Crush It and did well.
Yes.
Andy's in
Andy's in it.
Yeah.
He's the final book. He's the final one.
I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
He's at the end.
Sweet. No, it's I have another project I'm working on. I'll tell you about maybe
And what
next time.
What are you finishing listening to that frightens you every day?
Oh my God, the Terminalist.
She's on the last book. She's on the
and
last
I'm like,
book.
I'm like, is this real?
She's on the 5th, but she's on In the
I'm
Blood
listening
now.
to that.
Yeah.
I watched the series. Have you watched the series?
No,
yet?
not yet.
I'm sure.
Have you
I'm
read the
sure.
books, though?
I know. I need to read the books because
Dude,
I'm usually the guy that's like,
books.
you should read the book. But
Books are so much.
Is the series good?
the
I need to
series
find the
is
time.
so
It is.
unbelievable.
Put it on my
It's
power
done.
list.
It's
It's done
legitimately,
so well.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm living under a rock. I don't even know what you're talking
The
about.
Terminalist?
Oh God, it's so
man.
good, dude. It's
Jack
it's
Carr?
it's
Binge
literally
watch this weekend is your homework.
Which streaming service?
Amazon.
Yeah, done.
It's
Easy.
But
you know
what?
who Jack Carr is? Navy SEAL.
Oh, okay, yes.
He's a
Yeah.
best-selling author now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that series is
We
awesome.
we have 2 questions we ask every guest,
Yes.
and we're there. Do you know what the question is? Just a quick quiz on if you guys listen to the Protein Bros podcast. Well,
I read so
I
much
listen
and
to-
do so much.
Yeah.
I listened to the MFCEO project.
Well,
and
it's
I
that's
listened to
over.
Real
So.
AF.
All right.
Well, I went back to square one.
That's okay.
I got a lot to
Hey,
learn, Jeff.
there's a question we ask everybody, and that is just simply, we're from Kansas City. This is a really, really, a big deal to a lot of people. Maybe not to y'all, but the bottom line is everybody wants to know what's the best barbecue in Kansas City. You get one spot to pick. Where do you go?
I mean, recently, it's great in proximity, but I mean,
No, you get one spot.
yeah.
This defines your Kansas City,
See, this is hard because to me, it's changed.
and that's okay.
Partially because of COVID, and I still don't smell shit right.
I'm with you.
But used to be Oklahoma Joe's, the gas station.
Specifically.
down
Yeah, that's
specifically. That was probably my original OG of, yes. I have a lot of people in my gym tell me Q3. I've never been there.
You're missing out.
Don't go there.
Okay.
It's so good.
What?
Yeah. And there's one in Overland Park now. Like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
I haven't.
Yeah, the gas station for me, because my first kitchen was there, 47th and Rainbow. So
Oh, you were right there.
I was right there. It was
Yeah.
the youth front building in the basement.
I would bring her.
That's no
I'd bring
longer.
her a half chicken about every
I
other
would
day.
devour that thing.
Yeah, dude. And their fries
guys-
are phenomenal,
and fries.
too. We got to give
You
them
guys do
some
the
credit.
Z-Man?
Yeah, I mean, he did.
Yeah.
They got the new
Yeah.
rocket
Yeah.
pig, too. Don't
Oh,
skimp
no.
on that. If you're a spicy fan, I
Oh,
am.
no.
Yeah.
Has fried jalapenos on it. It's awesome.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I need
Yeah,
like a
but we've-
little spice now.
But
So
we're
Casey Joe's,
about
now they call it Casey Joe's.
We're about
Oh yeah,
60
that I'll never say it
seconds.
right.
Yeah, it's so close.
always
We're about
how it goes.
60 seconds from Meat Mitch.
Oh, I've heard so many good things about Meat
It's
Mitch.
good.
It's
Burn-ins.
Flanagan's a big Meat Mitch guy.
Oh,
Burn-ins
is
are
it?
good.
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, the guy's name's Mitch, right? And then it's like, but is the actual barbecue restaurant called Meat Mitch?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
good.
Yes.
I mean, it's delicious.
It's good.
Yeah.
I heard it's good. And the other
Brisket, grilled cheese.
I'm excited to have you guys. We do a big thing that we do on our show is the Protein Bros protein reviews.
Okay.
Kyle and I have tried every snack like known to man that says it's a protein snack. Here we have a Monk Pack protein cookie soft baked. Which camera should I put it in, Luke? A Monk Pack protein cookie, 16 grams of protein for all life's adventures.
What kind of protein?
I don't know. Kyle's going to tell us because that's Kyle's job.
Yeah.
We are snack experts, Jeff and Kyle, here to tell you
if it's
what protein
any
snacks are
kind
worth
of
buying and which
soy
ones are not.
protein,
Oh,
I
it-
don't want it.
Plant-based, it's
not-
gluten-free.
It's
Double
Nope.
dark chocolate.
it's the
Nope.
typical
you're gonna
vegan
try it?
protein blend, which is brown rice protein and pea protein.
Look at this hockey puck. What's that? I know, I'm giving her half. We're going tears.
Okay. Oh shit.
It's such a
Okay.
waste of my taste buds.
Well,
Before I even have it.
There you go.
Did I?
we're giving it a shot. Hold on. We'll give you guys a format here.
Oh man, this is not Dolce. I'll tell you
Not
that.
your sponsor, is it?
No way. We don't have sponsors.
Okay, good.
All right. So
Oh,
right off the bat,
Yo, that's not a cookie.
hey,
that's a tree. That's a tree cookie.
right off the bat, a lot of tree, but it starts to get good.
No, shut up. No,
Jeff.
You're starving.
That
and
is
hungry.
the
That's
dry-
the only reason.
Hold on.
bro. Let me go get you that box of
I'm like, where
actual
did that go?
baked goods. Come on.
Okay, so there's an actual, there's another plant-based cookie we've done on this.
That's bad.
We've all heard of. It's the same
is.
exact amount of
It is.
calories, the same exact amount of protein.
Okay. And?
And the truth is, if you are a Lenny and Larry's cookie person, this is way better.
It's made a mess.
This is way better.
Let me explain to you what's way better, Jeff. One of these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
From Dolce. Okay.
Thanks.
Let's get
You know
one of these pumpkin
Oh,
whoopie
have you
pies
had
out here.
those?
But so Jeff, here's the deal. So the nutrition plan that I do, which
Oh,
I have to ask if it's what you're doing because it's what I eat.
Sorry.
I do the vertical diet,
Sure.
rice and meat, period. Right. So if I want this, and I tell my clients this too. If you want something that tastes like chocolate, fucking eat chocolate.
Right.
Eat a Danish. Not just sell my wife stuff. Make something at home if you want.
Sure.
But then eat a freaking steak. You get your protein, and if you want to have some chocolate, eat that.
Right.
Go do an extra so many minutes of cardio.
have some
and
macros that are
enjoy it,
all that
right,
macro.
that are quality. Quit trying. I hated that people even try to do this.
Hey,
This is
this brings revenue to their business.
so bottom line.
Well,
this,
no,
this,
No,
we don't
sell that. So it brings us zero revenue.
Bottom line is
But other protein
for a
cookies,
plant-based cookie,
No.
for it to be a hockey puck, it's not terrible. I'm not gonna lie, it's not terrible to me. I think it's a 5.2. I think you should try it. I think it's definitely got some strong chocolate flavors. It's 320 calories though. That's really robust.
That's a lot.
I'm not
many-
a fan of
This is
320
the deal,
calories for
Jeff.
one hockey
If you
puck.
and I were on an island, alone, and that was the only cookie left, and somebody was going to eat it, I would let you eat that and then eat you,
Okay.
Oh.
just to have actual protein.
there-
So
Oh, well.
This is
Have you had human flesh before? I gotta ask now. I'm looking right now. Have you eaten human flesh before? Do you like the taste of human flesh?
It might be
Ew.
good. It might be like
Ew.
steak. Do you eat human flesh medium rare? Because probably
I've
I
seen
am,
Lord of the
you know,
Flies,
like,
dude. If you're calling me
you don't
piggy.
want to. You don't want to have like an overdone medium. You know, like you don't want medium well
Like a
flesh.
chewy-
No,
It's
gross.
really,
Arms
it's really,
pickle.
it's flaky.
No,
It's not good.
I'll just answer this way. I like it pink.
Okay.
Whoa!
Man, there you go.
I will say this about
Can I
that.
get a review score on your human flesh? Was it any good? Was it a 5.2?
That shitty cookie is 320 calories and only 16 grams of protein.
Not worth it.
It will get a score of 3.6. Human flesh 5.2.
We got here for fat content because that's what I'm worried about here. We got 16 grams of fat, so it's just as much fat as it is protein.
Imagine having a vegetable-based cookie
Just
and
as
then
much
having
sugar
that much
as
fat in
protein.
it. It's like
Okay.
what?
That's a lot
Yeah,
of
man.
effort.
When people call it plant based, it's getting far in a way out of hand as far as right now. As far as the trends, everything's going more plant based.
It's a woke cookie. That's probably my biggest problem.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, it's a, this is what you should do just because. No real rationale behind it.
Right. There's no science or anything.
Yeah, it's just trending. So, anyways, this cookie is not exactly the best tasting, not exactly the best for you. Buy it at your own risk. That's all. As far as the sign off for the podcast, we genuinely appreciate you guys taking the time to come out here. We know
Thank you guys. It was good getting to know
wasn't
you
easy
guys.
for you guys to get off during the day to have you come by, and so we really appreciate you taking that time and being on the podcast. Loved hearing your stories. Excited to see what you have coming that you said you're working towards. Excited to hear about that, and then we got to come by and do the shooting stuff with you because we really want to do that. We've been talking about it beforehand. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. If you're new, we appreciate you listening. For those who would like one of our Protein Bros Miami Vice t-shirts, those are now available at all of our locations. You just have to mention and show that you've subscribed to the podcast, and they'll hook you up on the house. Or if you're far away, go ahead and go to our website, proteinbrospodcast.com, and you can order them there. Appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
We'll be
for
back
having
next
us.
week.
Yeah, thank you guys for being on.
Appreciate it.
Easy enough, huh?
It's a good time.
We could have talked all day. I've never had to pee so bad in my life.
I know. Go, 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 go.